Welcome to the Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address the commission on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the commission. Please hand in your completed card to a city staff member. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The commission secretary will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meetings stream live on YouTube and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
Everybody seated. Good evening. The March 11th, 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission is called to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the Secretary note the roll?
Commissioner McClendon is present. Commissioner Roberts is present. Commissioner Booth is present. Vice Chair Hegedus is present. Commissioner Wang is present. Chairman Clymer is present. We have a quorum.
Okay. Item number 1 is to approve the consent agenda. Will the Secretary please read the items on the consent agenda by title only?
Approval of minutes. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? A motion by Commissioner Booth and a second by Commissioner Hegedus, or Vice Chair Hegedus. Please enter your vote. Okay, motion passes.
Okay, now's the time for citizens who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission for any non-agenda items. Are there any speaker cards?
Not for non-agenda items.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, thank you. And now this is an opportunity for commission members to disclose any ex parte communications they may have prior to this meeting on any item scheduled for discussion on the agenda. Ex parte communications that any outside communications commissioner may have had regarding items on tonight's agenda. Anyone? No. Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is presentation of the comprehensive update on the city's zoning ordinance. This is discussion only. No action will be taken on this item or can be taken on this item. Planning Manager Kristen Williams and Principal Planner Guadalupe Ortiz Cortez will be present this. So good evening to you.
Good evening, Chairman, Commission members, Guadalupe Ortiz Cortez. I'm joined tonight by Mike Classico with Michael Baker International and Christian Williams, Planning Manager. We are before you tonight to continue our discussion on the zoning ordinance update. The zoning ordinance update kicked off in January 2025. Since then, we had community workshops, development community forums, and in October of last year, we were before you to receive your input on various topics, including use permits, notice and requirements, and housing opportunities. Tonight, we are before you requesting input on various topics as well. We will take your feedback and continue drafting the zoning ordinance draft, which will be available for the public in the coming months. We expect to be back before you in May with an update on the overall draft and feedback from the community, and in June, requesting a recommendation on the overall zoning ordinance update. On tonight's agenda, we will be covering battery energy storage systems, data centers, and additional recommendations that the staff included on the staff report, and we will touch on those at the end of this presentation and can answer any questions on those items as well. The first topic on the agenda, as mentioned, battery energy storage systems. These facilities help provide steady and reliable power supply. The city has one battery energy storage system facility. This facility opened last year. And although the city has one existing facility, the zoning ordinance does not call out this use by name. This use or this existing facility was approved in an industrial zoning district based on analogous uses permitted in industrial districts. With this update, it's staff's goal to codify standards for this use while protecting the community from potential hazards. To ensure this, we worked alongside the city's fire department to ensure that the proposed regulations protect the community as well. Matt with Michael Baker International will walk us through those proposed regulations.
Thank you, Guadalupe. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. Great to be back to discuss battery energy storage systems. What you have in your packet this evening, we provided a handout along with a draft ordinance for these facilities. These facilities are becoming more prevalent throughout Arizona and the country. And as Guadalupe mentioned, the current zoning code does not specifically call these out. So as part of this update, the information that we have on this slide is pulling out of that draft ordinance that is in your staff packet some of the more prevalent items that often come up in conversation in other communities as they're adopting this ordinance and or considering such a facility. So within the specific draft, the first item that we would want to cover is where these are allowed. And given that they're not currently addressed in the zoning code, given that they have some unique conditions associated with them that could vary from site to site, the current proposal is to include these as a special use permit condition. And that would be limited to the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts. And so as you are familiar with the special use process, where the city has conditional uses that have specific conditions associated with them, and if a use meets those conditions, then you largely move forward with it. In the special use permit process, there's more opportunity for staff to apply additional considerations to an application to address or mitigate specific issues. And so that is the reason for the approach on this, given the variability in the applications of these staff and through our assessment of other ordinances, thought that the special use permit process would be the best tool for that. The other item that is often a significant consideration is the separation. And when we say separation, that's separation of uses. So you can see on the slide here, and if you looked at the ordinance, we're kind of looking at this from two perspectives. It's from the residential aspect and the non-residential aspect, or commercial and industrial. Now, when we look at separation, there are conditions that other communities are utilizing for those measurements. Across Arizona or in the valley, we see communities going all the way from 100 feet for separation from residential or other uses, all the way up to 1,000 feet. And Where that range falls is part of our conversation. One of the things I'd mention is there is a national NFPA standard. It's a fire standard that regulates, provides guidance on the development and operation of these facilities. In that NFPA, they have a standard separation for any occupied building of 100 feet. So that's where that kind of, I'll say, marker, if you will, of a baseline standard often comes from when you're looking at maybe other communities for reference. And so in this particular application, and one of the things I guess I would add is the notion of the separation is the reaction to some of the safety aspects of these facilities. They have a condition called thermal runaway that can happen, that can be a safety hazard. There have been instances with BEST facilities in Arizona, one that happened, I believe, back in 2019 in Surprise that did injure some firefighters battling or addressing that particular site. Another one happened in Peoria just last year. But those are, the Surprise facility is a little older facility. The technology's come a long way. And so these facilities are developed and sited and designed differently than that particular facility. But nonetheless, the separation comes into play in terms of if a situation were to occur and these were to catch on fire, it's really the plume and the potential of needing to evacuate people, and it's not necessarily related to any other specific aspect of this facility. It's more of the concern if there is an emergency, what is who and what is going to be impacted by that. So with this draft, we went with the notice. Currently, the zoning code has a 500-foot notification area. It also has 500-foot applied to other uses and separation from residential. So that's where this 500-foot came from. It's coming from consistency with other conditions that are in the existing zoning code. The 150 feet from commercial and industrial is looking at some other comparable ordinances across Arizona that have been developed, and 150 feet is often a common number that you can see the correlation to that NFPA standard of 100 feet. So there's consideration there as to what's the best fit. We did take these discussions to council, and they gave some feedback on that, and we can discuss that if the commission desires. The other aspect is screening and landscaping. You can see in the image here, this is not a facility in Goodyear, but you can see that these facilities could exist in multiple locations. It might exist in an urban environment. It might exist in a rural environment. And so the screening aspect here in the draft ordinance tries to take into consideration the placement of this. So while there are screening requirements for these, there is conditions that would allow staff to accommodate flexibility, that if one of these was in a more rural area, maybe it doesn't need as robust screening as something in a more urban area. Of course, with everything that I went through, an emergency response plan is very important, a part of these facilities. And so there is strict regulations within that draft ordinance that goes into great detail about what that emergency response plan should or shall include. And you can imagine that that's dealing with access so that firefighters know how to access the actual site, how they can contact someone to know what facilities or hazards are in the site, so that they have all the information they need right before they step into the property and or start to apply a direct response to a certain condition. So the response plan is a pretty standardized, I would say, in terms of ordinances in other communities, a standardized kind of baseline condition. Other considerations that are addressed in that draft ordinance, noise. These facilities historically, aren't very loud. However, there have been some reports that they do distribute a hum sound. And so there is consideration for noise in this draft ordinance, but that is obviously up for conversation given that compared to maybe other uses, there's not a significant history of noise impacts from these facilities. But the current draft does have a consideration for addressing the background noise at time of the application, to address noise at time of C of O, and then during operation to address noise to make sure that that baseline is consistent. But maybe the more important aspect of the other considerations is the decommissioning plan. So we're trying to look long-term. These facilities do have a lifespan. Technology could change. There may be a request down the line to maybe reuse these facilities for a similar use. But if time goes by and it's determined for technology reasons or any other reasons that these facilities may not be necessary, obviously the city wants to ensure that these sites can still be used for other things and are not impacted to the extent that they cause limitation of what that site can be used for in the future. So a decommissioning plan is also part of the draft ordinance. With that, Commissioner, I'll turn it back over to you, or Chair, I should say, turn it back over to you to see if there's any questions or comments about these facilities in general or the draft ordinance.
Okay, now this is something, obviously, we're not going to make any decisions on anything. We're just listening to this, and the city council has already heard this, or are they going to hear it again?
We presented in a work session on Monday this week. So they heard this exact presentation and these exact slides on Monday for both the BES and data centers.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? There was someone who wanted to speak, and I don't mind listening.
Okay. Do you want to do it now or once the presentation's over?
But,
or
okay,
do you-
how much more? Well, you got other items. On
We
the
have the data center
Data
after
center, yeah,
this,
okay,
so I
yes,
think
yes,
it is
okay,
up
let's
to
do
you,
that, then
Chair.
we'll do that, yeah. Very good, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, we have one, and there's no plans right now for more, but this is a plan for more if that's gonna happen.
I don't want to specifically speak for staff, but my understanding is staff has been approached about these facilities, but there are no active applications into the city, if I stated that correctly. Yes. Okay.
Okay?
Our next topic is data centers. The city has 6 active data center campuses today. The first data center in the city opened in 2011. Data centers is another use that is not called out by name in the zoning ordinance today, but has been considered a permitted use based on analogous uses in industrial zoning districts. We have learned a lot from this use over the years, and with this update proposed to codify data centers as a permitted use in industrial districts, and create standards that address community concerns and consider technology advances. I'll now pass it over to Matt, who has the specifics on the proposed regulations.
So you can get the cadence here. Similar to the last conversation, you have in your packets a draft ordinance for data centers. We also included a table to show some comparable communities across the valley and the state that also have regulations for data centers. So as Guadalupe mentioned, because the zoning code does not explicitly call out data centers, naturally, given the prevalence of them here in Goodyear, we would want to include them. The proposed draft at this point as a principal use, would be viewing these to continue as a permitted use with conditions. So in essence, this would be a slight, adjustment from the best facilities that are special use. These would be permitted with conditions. So what you read in your staff report there would be requirements, but if they were able to meet those requirements, then the use would be generally permitted within the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts. Again, some of the other conditions that often come up when considering these, and you've had some of these come across the commission, so you're familiar with these, but again, setbacks. And you can see similar, differentiating between residential and non-residential in these conditions. However, you see a slight adjustment with 300 feet for residential versus the 500 feet. And I'll kind of jump into this one in terms of noise, the next one down there. These facilities, really one of the items, in addition to possibly their water demands or their energy demands, noise can often be a concern with these facilities. But noise isn't necessarily, as you may know, associated with the operation of the facility. It's the backup generators and those generators being tested and ensuring that they're operational if and when needed. And so we have consideration for noise in this draft ordinance. And that's why we see a 300-foot separation from residential, because the facilities can be a little bit more compatible, if you will, with adjacent residential compared to maybe a best facility. But we do have noise considerations within 500 feet. So while a setback might be 300 feet, if the facility is within 500 feet of residential, then there is a pre-noise assessment, a post-construction assessment, and then an annual assessment similar to the best facilities. The backup power, as I mentioned, is there is some detailed regulations in the draft ordinance about how that power or how that testing can be done. The issue that we want to be sensitive to is we want these facilities to obviously be able to test and make sure that if they were needed, that their backup generators are operating appropriately. But we want to ensure that that testing does not happen 24/7 every day and that residents end up having to bear that burden. And so within the draft ordinance, we have some conditions about limited times and days of when testing can occur, and also conditions about how to notice the public about when testing will occur. So it's not only limiting them, but allowing the public to have a place they can go to know when that may or what that schedule entails. And then the last item is water. Now, these facilities have started to recognize that they can't be, that they cannot use excessive amounts of water. So their technology has come a long way where they are efficient with their water use, but that is understood that the public does have concerns about that. So there is, again, consideration for water and energy within the draft ordinance of needing a will serve letter to obviously show that these facilities will be that the specific water provider or energy provider will be able to service these facilities. So that is the general rundown of some of the key topic areas that are most discussed when placing these facilities. But again, similar to Bess, if there's any specific questions that Chair or other commissioners may have regarding just the facilities in general or the draft ordinance, I'm happy to address those.
How many do we have now in the city of Euclid?
I believe you reported six campuses. So that I believe includes multiple buildings within those campuses.
Any further feelers for anything else? Oh, no, yes, okay.
And we did a abbreviated analysis of this, of data centers, and Goodyear does have a concentration of them compared to other cities. So Mesa has a number of them, Goodyear and Phoenix. So for context, Goodyear, as staff was acknowledging, is home to a larger maybe portion of that than we are seeing in other communities.
Okay.
So if this were to be rezoned to the permitted with conditions, does that mean that it can get to 20 data centers as long as they meet the conditions within the zoning? Because it's not a special permit where it won't always go through to council or to us? I mean, at what point can we say we don't want any more data centers if this is being zoned to permitted with conditions?
Yeah, I would, staff can jump in if they would like, but this ordinance and this particular approach would not have a limitation on who can apply or how many could apply for to meet these conditions within the I-1 and I-2 districts. So I can't say that there would be a limit, but we are trying to be very rigid or very comprehensive, I should say, not rigid, but comprehensive in our ordinance that might make it challenging to cite that many.
I understand the application process, but the actual approval process. So yes, 20 people can apply, but at what point, like, do they, if they do and they all meet the condition, they could all come?
That is correct.
But with the BES, that's more of a special, they have to get approval. It doesn't automatically go into approval if they meet, because they have to, it's a special approval, correct?
Staff has more flexibility to apply specific conditions, but yes, if those conditions were proposed and the applicant was able to meet those conditions, I would believe that maybe a city attorney would jump in if needed. But if they were to even meet those conditions, then there is a potential that those special use permits would be approved as well.
Thank you.
I have a clarifying question. On the data centers, you mentioned pre and post and annual noise checks, but you did not mention what is the regularity on BES noise controls? Would it just be during construction? Is it also an annual?
It's almost the identical process. So they would do it post-construction, and an annual as proposed now. We obviously receive feedback from council on Monday. Any feedback we collect this evening, we're going to get back into these and refine them based on that input.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A few more topics for y'all. In your packet, you've been provided with recommended changes to the ordinance related to medical office parking requirements, changes to the code related to mixed use, affordable and age-restricted parking reduction opportunities, as well as drive-through spacing regulations. And for your knowledge, at the January 26, 2026 City Council meeting, a resident requested the City Council to consider a city-initiated zoning ordinance text amendment to create a Village Center Arts District overlay near historic Goodyear. And due to the need for additional public involvement on that matter, council was in agreement that staff should investigate that and do some city-initiated neighborhood outreach. And we are going to do that neighborhood outreach. If that neighborhood feedback is favorable, we'll be bringing a zoning ordinance text amendment likely to this body first and then the city council for adoption. If that feedback is not well received in large, we'll provide an update to council and you all as well. and we'll receive direction on whether we should proceed or not with that amendment. Regardless of the feedback, the zoning ordinance that we will bring forward for ratification in July or June will have an area for overlay districts to live. But again, because this is very specific to a certain neighborhood, we want to be very intentional about the outreach we did in that area. And if you have any questions about any of those topics, happy to answer any of those questions. All right. So right now, we are in our Planning and Zoning Commission work session. We will be posting this material again on our website for the public and to view. And if there are any comments related to the materials, there is a comment section on the website. If anyone's listening from the public, you can click on the More tab and the Contact Us tab, and you can fill out a comment card, as well as their staff email addresses on the website. So we'll be receiving feedback. We anticipate having community workshops in April and May, mid-May timeframe. And then from there, we'll re-engage the Planning and Zoning Commission for a work session and then bring forward a recommended ordinance that we would seek your feedback and recommendation of approval or denial. That would then go to council for ratification if that is their desire in June. And then we'd have an effective zoning ordinance 30 days later. So those are the updates, and happy to answer any questions you have about the timeline. All right, so I'll turn back over to you, Chair.
Okay.
You have 2 speaker cards. The commission will listen to comments and may take any one of the following actions. 1, respond to criticism. 2, request that staff investigate and report on the matter. 3, request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The screens will let you know how much time you have left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself by clearly stating for the record your name and if you are a Goodyear resident. My first speaker card is Sepand Alizadeh from the Arizona Technology Council.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Commission. Sepand Alizadeh with the Arizona Technology Council, 2800 North Central Avenue, Suite 1530 in Phoenix. I am not a Goodyear resident, but happy to be here to provide comments. First, I want to thank the Development Services Department for this comprehensive update. I believe they've amended the zoning ordinance over the past few years, but this is the first update in quite a while. So my hat's off and thank you to all who are doing this. So Arizona Technology Council is a trade association. We have over 750 members, tech companies of all different sizes, data centers, renewable energy companies, mining companies, et cetera. So we are a very, very well-known and highly regarded entity. And we do a lot of public policy advocacy, and I do a lot of public policy advocacy at the local level, local government level. So I watched the video from the work study session from Monday evening. It was very informative. All the council members were very, very engaged, very, very well informed. When it came to the battery energy storage system component of this update, one of the council members said, look, we need to get with the times. We need these facilities because they are critical components to energy infrastructure in the 21st century. Mayor and another council member said, look, when we do these separation requirements or institute them, I want them based in logic and statistics, not emotion. So with that, I am here to comment on the 500-foot separation requirement for best facilities from residences. And we believe that 500 feet is a little too drastic. It's not based in science, not based in work that's been done in other communities in Arizona. As you know, as you can see in your packets, Buckeye is, I believe, 150 feet, and Maricopa County recently adopted a 100-foot separation requirement for residences. And we urge Goodyear to move forward with something along those lines because 100 feet and 150 feet are both based on the NFPA 855 standard. And NFPA 855, as was identified, is the National Fire Protection Association. It's an association that's been operating since 1896 and been developing codes, recommendations, et cetera. And their 855 standard is one that's been developed with input from fire safety professionals, architects, engineers, public safety professionals. And so we urge you all to please move forward when considering this with the NFPA 855 standard, which is closer to 150 feet and 100 feet for the separation requirement for best facilities from residences. Again, that's based in science, that's based in data, and that is what's going to work for the city of Goodyear. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your comment.
Absolutely.
Of course, you'll be on the record, and we'll have to mull it over between now and May when we get to make some comments and some voting on that. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you to you all. Thank you to the Development Services Department. This is great work. And the Arizona Technology Council is here to be of assistance in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mike Johnson.
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. I'm a West Valley resident. I'm a lifelong Arizonan. I'm fourth generation in Arizona. NFP 855. I didn't know anything about what a battery energy storage system was 4 years ago. I have a piece of property north of Goodyear, and I've learned everything I can about everything there is about battery energy storage. And I'm not a green energy guy. You guys might look at me and probably realize that. And this is probably the one thing that I think really makes a difference in this sector. It takes energy that gets washed away for nothing, it stores it, and it gives it back. There's nothing out there like it right now for the technology. Exactly right, thank you. He stole all my thunder, the 150 feet, the 100 feet. I can show you in this book where that's at. And like he said, this is the standard that all fire departments look at. When you look at the city of Surprise, and unfortunately what happened in 2019, when there was, I believe, 4 or 5 firemen that were sent to the hospital, critical, and thank God they all survived. What happened there was, unfortunately, untrained individuals that breached a canister that they knew nothing about. This has trained firemen today to be safe and understand the systems. Unfortunately, what just happened off of Northern at the SRP plant a few months back, there was a canister that caught on fire internally. And unfortunately, or fortunately, one of the gentlemen that was on the Surprise fire that happened in 2019 was there. And he walked the reporters in who were less than 100 feet away from that can, filming it, reporting on it. He understands what's going on with these. He understands the safety of it. This is the future of energy as we have it right now for Goodyear, for Surprise, for Buckeye, for all of these outlying areas. These data centers that move in eat energy like crazy, and they need consistent, clean energy. You get that from battery energy storage. That's what supplies it. So when we are rolling into this, the future that we're not going to get to see, but our children will, we need these. This is the technology at hand right now. This is what's going to move it forward. So I wish you would take the consideration of the 150 feet, the 100 feet that is in the NFPA. It makes sense. It's based on science. It's based on studies. It's based on people that do this. Unfortunately, we don't know this stuff. This is what they do for a living. So I appreciate the time that you allowed me to come and speak in front of you. I appreciate any questions that you have or might have for me. Obviously, you can tell I don't normally speak in front of a bunch of
No,
people.
you did fine. Thank you, Mike.
I appreciate the time.
Again, that'll be something we'll just have to keep in mind. We don't vote or take any consideration tonight.
100%. But
so
once
it's gonna
again, I
be
appreciate that.
From now until May, when this all rolls out, and then
Right.
we talk about it. Okay, appreciate it.
Okay. But once again, please take into consideration your neighbor Buckeye, they're at 150 feet, and it makes sense. Thank you very much. I
Okay, thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Staff, you had nothing else there for that, with that presentation? Thank you very much. Let's see. Are there any staff communications?
We have one more presentation.
Oh, we have another presentation?
Yeah.
Did I miss something? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
item number
yes.
3.
Yes, that's my favorite on the agenda tonight.
All right. Good evening, Chairman and Planning and Zoning Commission, Christian Williams, Planning Manager, and with me also is going to be my colleague Alyssa Magley, Administrative Services Manager. And the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss ex parte communication, how it relates to your bylaws, and staff will also seek some policy direction on how you might like to proceed. So today's agenda, Alyssa will cover what ex parte communication is as well as what it is not. I will then go over your bylaws or your rules of procedure and how they address ex parte communication. We'll all then discuss the external requests that we have had for communication with this body. And then finally, we'll seek direction on any changes you might desire or not desire to your rules of procedure. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alyssa to first talk about what ex parte communication is.
Hello, good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. I had to run down from the dais real quick. Alyssa Magley, Administrative Services Manager, and your Secretary. So I would like to begin by explaining the distinction between open meeting law and ex parte communications, as these concepts sometimes serve different purposes but are governed by different expectations. So open meeting law ensures that public business is conducted openly. We're here, we're having a meeting, the members of the public are allowed to join and speak. So any decisions that are made by the commission or any board must occur during a public meeting that is accessible to the public. Open meeting law dictates when and where meeting notices are posted, what should be included in agendas and minutes of a meeting, and sets down rules for attendees of the meeting, all with the purpose of ensuring transparent decisions of all meetings of any public body. Ex parte communication, by contrast, is intended to preserve the impartiality of the commission's decision-making process. These rules exist to prevent off-record substantive discussions about matters that may come before the commission. The purpose is to avoid the possibility of prejudice in decisions. So as far as a quorum goes, a quorum is relevant to both concepts. A quorum is defined as a majority of the members of a board or commission and is required in order to conduct official business. If a quorum is not present, as you know, the commission cannot hold a meeting or take action. In the case of this body, a quorum constitutes a minimum of 4 commissioners with a full quorum of 7. Under open meeting law, a quorum is necessary for the commission to conduct business. Ex parte communications, however, can occur regardless of whether a quorum is present, which is why both commissioners and staff must remain mindful to avoid potential issues. As a practical example, Planning Manager Christian Williams and I meet with the chair and vice chair of this commission prior to the commission's monthly meetings to review upcoming agenda items. During these discussions, we discuss the material that will be provided to them in the agenda. We avoid providing substantive case-specific information, as you can see on the screen. In-depth discussion and deliberation also are avoided, as they may unduly influence a vote beyond the staff recommendation or allow commissioners to have conversation that may indicate how they will vote. An example of ex parte communication, for instance, would be the conversations off record with a representative or opposing body that has a pending matter before this public body. And under the commission's current rules of procedure, each commissioner, as you know, is required to disclose any ex parte communication that may have had prior to the meeting. That disclosure requirement is the topic we are here to discuss this evening. I will welcome Christian back up.
Thank you, Alyssa. So some of you have asked, why does this board have to disclose ex parte communication? This is a screenshot from your rules and procedures. And the rules and procedures were last adopted in 2007. In your meeting procedures, it states under meeting procedures that all members shall disclose all ex parte communications. The city code and the zoning ordinance does not require this. It was recommended by this body and ultimately approved by this body in 2007. This is different than City Council, which has not placed this requirement on their body. So moving topics briefly, some of you are aware that in the past, members of the public and the development community have requested to reach out to you all, either for meetings, phone calls, or to send you direct emails. The direction to this point has been not to engage with ex parte communication. However, staff would like to give you individual options. So the first option is that you may choose to continue to operate today as you do now and not receive ex parte communication. Or if you would like, you may individually reach out to myself and Alyssa after the meeting and let us know if you are open to receiving this type of communication from all parties, which would be both developers and members of the community. If that's your decision, staff will then further investigate if we can offer you city email or if you'll need to receive this via your personal email and phone. Either way, if you opt not to receive, if you opt not to receive it and a developer or resident reaches out to provide information, we'll provide it to all of you. That will actually come from Alyssa, and you'll be blind copied with the information that that member of the public or developer or body wanted you to receive. So example, again, this has happened before where she's blind copied you and let you know that a member of the community felt a certain way about a topic. So with that information, we would like to open up a discussion for you all to have regarding your existing rules and procedure language. So the options that we would have before you, unless you come up with another one, is to keep the existing rules related to ex parte communication and decide not to receive that ex parte communication. I'm sorry, that was the previous slide. Keep your existing rules related to expressing whether or not you have received ex parte communication. Or option two would be to direct staff to modify the rules related to ex parte communications from your bylaws. And then with your discussion, provide staff with that guidance. We would go back then, amend your bylaws if you have us do that, and bring you back something to discuss in public for a vote. And then that would ultimately go to council for ratification. So for this portion, it's the question of keep the existing rules related to ex parte communication or direct staff to change those. And then again, following the meeting, if you want to receive ex parte communication, we can figure out how to do that for you. Happy to take any questions and turn it back over to you, Chairman, for your bodies to discuss.
All right, thank you. I don't know how the rest of you feel. This was brought up because I know that City Council didn't do this, and other places do, other places don't, some of the cities. But to find out, it is in our bylaws, I guess I didn't quite know that, but as opposed to City Council. Personally, I would rather not have applicants contact me or the public. I would rather wait till either Alyssa sends us something, Caroline sends us something that says this is going to be about the topic coming up, and this is what someone has said, or wait until we get the agenda and then we could read it all and figure out what's going on. Would we get an extra bump in pay if we allowed the public to contact us at our homes? I don't know. That's my opinion. You all can, if you want to know something in advance, go talk about it.
I actually think it'll help us be better prepared if we're able to have some of those communications with not only developers, but the people in the community beforehand. I think we come in more knowledgeable on whatever's being presented. So I'm open to removing it from the bylaws.
All right. So you don't think of course, the developer or the applicant will be kind of a one-sided approach?
Sure, but I think all of us are impartial, and I think we can weed through, their arguing points, and maybe we can persuade them. If we don't agree with something, we can have them change it, amend it before it even comes, before us. At least address our concerns.
Terry, you got an opinion?
I have an opinion. I like the way it is. I don't want to have communication with them outside of, I don't want people to manage my email and do that.
Yeah, and on that point, I wouldn't want to hand out my email to anybody and everybody. That would be the talk to get a city email. I don't know what the process to do that, but I don't know how easy that is, but then you'd have separate emails you're gonna have to worry about.
And if it's a decision of it, you would, if you got city emails, you can also tell us that as well, and we can explore that option.
I like option number one, of course, keeping it as is, but I'll be open to option number two if we do actually go that way.
What do you think, Anthony?
I like option number one. I think it's working fine to me so far. So I don't see a reason why we need to go option number two.
Do I understand that if we do option two, all of us are going to get the emails whether we want them or not? Did I understand? Is that what you meant by the blind copy?
I'll provide a little bit more clarity. So there are two items or options for you to consider. As it relates to your official rules of procedures, the first option is everyone continuing to disclose at a meeting if you've received ex parte communication. The second option is directing staff to remove the requirement that you would all disclose if you had ex parte communication. That is a separate question really then, if you individually would like us to allow the public and the development community to contact you directly. So if I could give you an example, if you kept option one, which is to leave your bylaws as is, and all of you chose not to receive ex parte communication, then it would be very likely that you at the meeting would say, I've had no ex parte communication. If some of you all have decided that you want to receive ex parte communication, then that item would sound a little different, where some of you might disclose, I had ex parte communication with a neighborhood alliance group, or I had ex parte communication with a developer. That'd be your personal choice. If you move to option two and directed staff, for example, to remove that requirement, then it may be unknown to you all if you have or have not received ex parte communication from a neighborhood group, a resident group, or a development group. So the first slide is really a personal choice. You let us know if you want to receive ex parte communication. This slide is really about, do you want to disclose that whether you do or do not?
Back to your question, not very often, but sometimes there is someone that says, I want this read at the meeting, or I want this passed on to the commissioners. And that's how we get those sent, but that happens just a couple times a year.
Christian, how often does a applicant wish to present information to the commission?
We've
Probably
heard
from the city council, you would know whether you're involved with that, but I think
They
quite
do
often.
with the city council, yes. They do request meetings and meet with the city council. We've had requests from certain particularly development groups to say that they would like to have one-on-ones with the commission or go over in-person meetings about projects and things like that. But the current policy as it is that you all don't want to receive that ex parte communication. So if you told us individually that you wanted to, we would then arrange for those to occur.
What I would see, right now you can see you've only done it once. Marie and I did this before when we try to get together for a Friday or a Thursday before the meeting. Trying to get our schedules to match up was a nightmare, really. She was doing things, I was doing things, and then Christian and Melissa were doing things, and it took forever. And if we're going to try to do this, all of us with a developer, the odds are I doubt you'd even get 4 people at the same time that could get together to talk.
Well,
Probably less.
And for clarity, you would not be able to meet together because that would be creating a quorum.
wow. Yeah.
So it would be, that's why
So they're going to do one-on-one is what you're saying.
That
Yeah,
is
I want to
correct.
call you, and where are they going to get everybody or not? I don't know. Maybe some people that don't get the information. I wouldn't want to see that, to have just a few of us get the information prior to the meeting.
I'm gonna, another clarifying. So we can do option one, and if one person wants the ex parte communication, they can get it. They just have to say at the meeting that they did it.
That's correct, because your current rules of procedures require that you declare if you've had ex parte communication.
So in the real option 2, we don't have to then we can still decide if we want it or not, but then we don't have to disclose it.
That's correct.
Okay. I still think I'd like to disclose if one person chooses to have the communication,
Well, I
it'd be
do too,
nice
I
to
think.
know that they had the communication.
Yep. So Kemp wants to have that?
Yeah, with the option, if I choose to receive the information, I just need to disclose it, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So you want us to make a decision this evening? Is that what you're saying?
If you want to summarize to me what you believe the direction of staff is, I will.
I think we're gonna keep option 1, and then if anyone else wants to, of the commission wants to go ahead and open themselves up to receiving that, that's up to them. Just let us know when you've heard something or what it is.
And just as a note, there are some things, we're going through bylaws for not only this body, but another body that's very related to your work. It is likely you'll see some revised rules of procedures in the following months, but we will not be touching that portion as you've directed us to keep the disclosure of ex parte communication in your rules and procedures. So we just want to modernize it because it's not always concurrent with our
Thank you.
current song. So thank you.
Now are there any staff communications?
There is just one, because there were no P and Z voting items last time. Just wanted to let you know that our longtime city manager, Winnette Reed, did retire on March 6th of last week. So we do have an interim city manager, Keeney Knudsen. He started March 7th as our interim city manager, and the city is currently going through the process of recruiting for a new city manager. I believe they're working through that interview process through the end of the month, so based on how that goes, we might have some information at the end of the month or early next month based on how the employment situation shakes out. So if not, we will let you know what the latest update is on that recruitment process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then you will have a new commissioner be presented to the city council for swearing in. So,
Set to be appointed on March 23rd.
yes. So if that's successful, you'll have a new commissioner hopefully joining you in the April meetings.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And then we'll have a full house.
Nothing else? The next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on April 15th, 2026, 6 p.m. right here in the council chambers. We're done. Good night.